There is a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. With what's coming out in the Epstein files with the cultural elites in this country, and this extends the roots of Epstein, the tendrils of Epstein were everywhere. We're talking about the academic classes, the actors, the musicians, the politicians, even reaching into members of the royal family in England.
Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like, you know, where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose. I have been given custody of him. You know, he signed the usher.
Now, I want to be clear that just because someone's name is in the Epstein files doesn't mean necessarily that they're guilty. Even because there's an accusation doesn't mean necessarily that they're guilty. But it seems clear at this point that the guilt runs very deep. And my question is, who looked the other way? Because a lot of people must have looked the other way. Harvey Weinstein, Diddy, Epstein. In New York, in California, in LA, in DC, Epstein used financial influence, financial ability to invest. Clearly this guy's name was spread around. This guy can help you invest your money, make money, etc. He had power, influence, and blackmail, and a little something extra on the side. This runs deep in Western civilization, and it's sickening to me. A guy recently put out a video talking about how millennials have been brainwashed, and I just want to share my experience here because I think he's dead right. I think millennials, but not just millennials, have been brainwashed. One of my favorite Shakespeare's play was Macbeth.
He should have died hereafter.
And Lady Macbeth is one of the most notorious characters in all of literature. Lady Macbeth lusted for power and spurred her husband. She used his faulting ambition, if you will, to commit terrible violence for power. And I think there are probably a lot of Macbeths and Lady Macbeths in the United States and in the West right now. I'd really like to know who looked the other way while people were being abused and trafficked and treated as slaves. But I'll tell you, to some degree, it was the same people who were behind the cultural zeitgeist of our lifetimes, to every living generation. I've taken some time to study how American religion and ideas and culture have played out with fundamentalism, with secular culture. And it's fairly disturbing to me. When I was growing up, everybody was into the sex comedies of the 90s and the 2000s. And I remember being a young man who had, at this point in my life, had chosen to try to be a good man, to do the right thing and live a decent, honorable life. And though, you know, I'm not a perfect person, I'm just not. But I remember being torn, but also disgusted by the way popular culture in my country was going. So I didn't want to, you know, live in a box. I wanted to experience culture and cinema and music. But I remember thinking, this is one of the reasons I think I'm so drawn towards classical music, now sacred music, but also 40s music, even 50s music, because it was just something more wholesome. Because if you remember Chopin's melody set to a love song, and that love song, I don't know if it was Doris Day who sang it back way before we were born. The love song was about the other. But so much of music with Nicki Minaj and music in the 90s, the love was about pleasure, disposable pleasure, and really about themselves. And so the love was literally self-centered more and more. And I remember being sort of grossed out and just concerned because though I'm a male, and I'm quite male, and I was young and, you know, the sex drive was kicking in pretty hard, I remember also thinking, you know, with Britney Spears and Amanda Bynes and Christina Aguilera and the movies and everything else, this isn't the way it should be. Can't we have some decency about all this? And now you look at the same starlets and their lives are ruined. Many of them. A deep problem in Hollywood. Clearly, something dark is happening in Hollywood. So many of these people turn out so messed up, so broken. And now, when I was a kid, Britney Spears, she's older than me. And I just remember thinking, man, she is kind of blushing when I saw her, thinking, man, she's quite something. But then thinking, this isn't quite right. And I just wouldn't allow myself to listen to everything she put out. But now you look at her now and you think, I think as a grown man, what 40-year-old man dressed a teenage girl like this and put her out on a stage? What 50-year-old executive sexualized this kid? Who are the women that that just looked away? Who are the women who dressed her like this and did this for money and profit and fame? No, I'm not saying she's innocent. I'm not saying that you or I are totally innocent. But I think that the propaganda pushed on our generation has been about sex and power. America's views, the Western Civ views about sexuality have changed a lot since the World War II generation. And that's largely due to Hollywood. Connect the dots. The same people in this cultural zeitgeist, behind the scenes, the music executives. I remember hearing I Kissed a Girl and I Liked It by Katy Perry. I walked into a Taco Bell or somewhere as a young man, and I heard that song, and look, I get the appeal in a sense, but I really don't. And what I remember thinking, my first instinct was, there are kids around. And now those kids are grown, by the way. And guess what they think? They have been influenced by the people, the music producers who are pushing certain views. Pornography's been normalized.
Can't you just watch porn like a regular guy? It's my porn collection! Just kidding. That would be weird.
It's your porn collection.
It's my porn collection! I'm giving you my porn!
We were told as young men that if you don't have sex with a bunch of women, as many women as possible, well, you're just not a man.
I want the right time, the right moment, the right place.
It's not a space shuttle launch, it's sex.
Tomorrow I'll just be some girl you go telling all your friends about.
No way.
So many of the bad ideas in history are taking a bad idea, a bad way of life, and reacting against it into something else that's stupid and bad. I think like if there are some bad men in power, well, then you have some toxic views of feminism that have sprung up as a reaction against that. Well, they're both wrong. If you have some Republicans or perhaps there are problems with capitalism, I think you could critique the American economy. But then people react against that, and now they're open to Marxism, which is death. And so reacting against that chauvinist culture, as it's been called, toxic masculinity, but really it was just encouraging young men, taking their sex drives and manipulating them and warping them, which is, sex is a good thing, sex drive is a healthy thing, and then warping it and manipulating it from perverted minds in the cultural zeitgeist, in the elite, not all the elite, but many of them, and then profiting on it. Profiting on it. Pornography is consumerism run amok. They've taken normal things about life, the family meal, and they've turned it into a fast, quick, disposable thing, fast food. I like fast food, but now it's just about profit. And the America's kitchen is no longer in the home. Now it's in a drive-through, and we're all sick. Same thing with sex. Sex is now something that's for profit for corporations and perverted people. It even involves now human trafficking. And the same people who are involved in that trafficking process, sex and power, lust for power, are the same ones pushing this stuff in our television shows, in our movies, in our music. I know this isn't popular, but I think we've been brainwashed. And this is why I try to have compassion with millennials, even Gen X and baby boomers and Gen Z, but really particularly people about my age. People think I'm too soft on the LGBT movement, but I'm telling you, I hold the Catholic teaching, but I also just know that you now have adult generations of people who simply had their minds shaped and how they see themselves and how they see the world. And I absolutely have compassion for those people. And it's not always a simple thing. In Macbeth, Lady Macbeth literally calls on dark spirits. She said she would be willing to murder her child.
Come, thick night.
me in the dunnest smoke of hell. But my keen knife see not the wound it makes, nor heaven peep through the blanket of the dark to cry, hold!
She would do this for power, and she calls on black, dark spirits to give her the power to do what she would not do on her own. And the thing is, they do. Macbeth says he has ambition, but it's faltering ambition, and he needs a spur to get to complete his ill intent. And his wife certainly spurs him on. But here's the thing about that. Sin, moral wrongdoing, this is why I've pled with atheists to not go down this route of morality isn't real, it's just a pleasant illusion. Stop that. Politely, and I mean it, please reevaluate, because you are losing the ground on which to, you've lost the ground on which to stand to say that things that are evil, and evil is spreading. Right now, we need a healthy dose of moral realism. The moral order of the universe, the moral layer of reality. There's beauty, there's meaning, there's morality. These things are sort of ingrained in the fabric of reality, and to sin, to do immoral things, affects us. It warps the fabric of reality. Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, they went mad.
Damn spot out, I say. 1, 2.
They went insane, and they lost themselves. They accomplished the power, they got the position that they wanted, and they lost themselves to it. That is the state of Western civilization. Not everyone, but quite a few. Quite a few. And I have a very simple solution. I feel I have so much, I hurt for young people who have a hard time finding love right now. And we're being divided 1,000 ways. Boomers against millennials. Millennials hate the boomers. Gen X thinks they're better than everybody. A cool generation. All this black versus white versus black, Democrat versus Republican. We're being divided 1,000 ways, and it's not always over truth. When in reality, a lot of us, if we sat down and talked and got to know each other, we'd find out that we agreed about quite a few things. It's just the application of those things. And the people manipulating us, the influencers, the cable news networks, the politicians. I think a lot of, just as an example, a lot of the more decent-minded Democrat people genuinely care about immigrants. Do I think that the leftist thought leaders and the party leadership, do they all care about immigrants? No, I don't think so. Because if they did, the same people on the way to this, the federal government allowed the cartels to control our border my entire life, more and more. Why? What country does this? Why? Why? Knowing full well that so many people, the cartels, created pathways to get people here, profiting off of their desperation. And they controlled who came into our country, not some legitimate authority. And a huge percentage of the women and children who came here were abused. People went missing, people were trafficked. I'm willing to wager into sex trafficking. People died. And the people on the left and the thought leaders, they didn't care, but now that they're here, suddenly they don't want them to be mistreated by ICE. I think that's the voters who feel that way, I really think that's a well-intentioned thing. But we're being manipulated. The powers that be are not interested, I'm afraid, in genuinely solving a problem and helping people. They're dividing us for power. Everybody is being dehumanized, and we're dehumanizing ourselves, we're dehumanizing each other. So I have a simple thought. If we're being dehumanized, the way to fight that is to do human things and to be more fully human. If you're a man and you can't find genuine love and you want to be accepted, pornography is not the way to do that. It's part of the problem. Better yourself, work on yourself, find a skill set, find your path in life, give yourself to God, whether in religious service or if you're already a dad, even if you have no wife, be the best dad you can be. I think we've been robbed of our cultural inheritance. I think modernity for such a long time, though with some progress, has made so many deep mistakes, terrible tragedies. We've been robbed of our cultural inheritance. I'm not talking about a white thing. I'm talking about Western civ. Whether you're Hispanic, this is still your cultural inheritance. So, hey, turn off the consumerist nonsense out there, those garbage written stories. Hey, here's Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. Here's Tolkien's translation. Read that. By the way, some people I love got me this cool book. It's pictures by Tolkien, and it's actually his art, which is just really cool to flip through. I haven't read it, but it's just cool to flip through. Here's The Quest for the Holy Grail, the Iliad, the Odyssey. Read about Christianity, historic Christianity. I'm telling you that when you see the world as it was and see what we've lost, it's hard for me to think that in some ways this wasn't deliberate. To be more fully human, treat others with humanity, regardless of their political affiliation. I've noticed people on the left will be irate when Renee Good was killed, and I think it's tragic. How many of those same people were applauding when Charlie Kirk was murdered? Or when a man was murdered trying to save his family from an insane person, a thug, at a Trump rally? We're mourning death along political lines, and it ought not so to be. Whether or not I think Renee's death was murder or justified self-defense, I'm not even getting into that here, but if I am applauding her death, mocking it, something's wrong with me. We're being manipulated. And my concern is that those dark spirits that Lady Macbeth called out to, I'm no longer convinced that they are not literally at work. And if we're not careful, they'll be at work in our lives as well. Historic Christianity built Western civilization, and it is my belief and my hope that it can do so again, though we're going to face some hard times. Whether you're a Christian or not, hard times very well might be coming. But the more we give ourselves to God, and my encouragement to you is prayer, fasting, self-restraint, by God's grace, reorder those disordered appetites that we have for food, sex, pleasure, all these things. The goal of life is not to hide from hardships. It's to grow and be able to face them with strength. To just hide in our apartments, playing video games nonstop, trying to pleasure ourselves, that's not a good life. I'm a Catholic, so I'm going to say the sacraments are something that can enrich our spiritual lives. They're means of grace. It's like that game Elden Ring where you have sights of grace in this dark, corrupted world, and you're safe there. That's like a sacrament. I'm not a perfect man. I'm not claiming to be above you in any way, shape, or form. And I hope you know that if I know you in real life, I genuinely care about you. I just do. Whether you agree with me or not. And I've made a lot of people mad with saying these things. And I get it. But I think if there's any hope for the future, it's going to be on us. It's our turn to stand up and take the responsibility, to do the hard things, to discipline ourselves and give to charity, to genuinely help our neighbors, to help our parents as they age, to be the best parents we can be, because the system is failing and it ain't going to do it for us. To reject the false, straight up propaganda, sexual propaganda by people who want power and are trying to shape the way that you think, to pull you down to their level, even though socially they're up here, morally, not all of them so much. Reject that and visit something more real. Whatever happens, I hope you know that your life genuinely matters. Don't let the nihilists tell you otherwise. Someone somewhere cares about you and loves you. And so what we do in this life matters, so don't forget that, okay? As always, thanks for watching. God bless.